Welcome to, what was it? Something Protagonists.
Producing Protagonists, episode 1.
Yeah, episode 1. We asked the question of, have you ever wanted to play a drug addict cult leader with blue eyes? Well, we're here to teach you how to do that with Paul Atreides from Dune, aka the Moad'Dib.
By the way, spoilers for Dune.
Yeah, spoiler. So if you're looking up how to play Paul Atreides in the Genesys system, I assume you've already read the book, or at least seen the old movie.
And if you haven't, go do it. Unless you're me, in which case, stick around and get everything spoiled for you and find out some cool stuff.
And also, just to address something before we get started. So the problem with protagonists is they often have plot armor and anime level abilities. No game system is really designed to handle those. So yeah, even though Paul should probably have a 5 in like 4 of his stats, we can't do that in good conscience. So
The main characters of fictional stories are just kind of good at everything.
yeah, so like even though he doesn't have a 5 in every stat, we have like by the end of the build, you'll notice that we have like enough talents that kind of balance out his lack of certain stats.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's something good about the Genesys system. The characteristic doesn't necessarily need to be great because there's enough like skills and talents that you can take ranked and that will kind of make up for the failing. Yeah, character Paul Atreides. Maybe you should have put Moad'Dib in quotes afterwards. He's a human, and we decided to go with the aristocrat. Yeah,
Which you can find
archetype.
on page 39.
Yeah, in your Genesis Core rulebook, we went with that because he's born into a royal family. His father, Duke Leto, is 100% aristocrat, and mechanically, it's going to give you a little bump in the presence, which is really important for, a cult leader who ends up taking control of an entire planet, basically. The brawn is going to kind of maybe be an issue because it does drop down to 1, and he mainly does melee weapons. If you're familiar at all with the story, no one really uses projectiles because everyone has a personal shield that stops them anyway. So this very intricate fighting form developed where you have to like move your sword slow enough to get through the shield and then speed up to like a quick jab once it penetrates through it to actually hurt the person.
It would make sense why actually agility would factor in a little bit more. Like obviously, like melee weapons, you still need the strength, but if it like you have to like thread that literal needle almost literal needle, like agility makes a lot more sense anyway. So I think that works.
Yeah. So we were gonna say use your starting XP to go ahead and get the 3 in agility and also put a 3 in cunning. And just try to plead with your GM to let your melee light be based on your agility, since I guess the closest thing I can really compare their like sword fighting style to in Dune is fencing, which seems more agile based than brawn based.
Yeah.
Bumping presence up to a 4, cunning and agility both up to 3s. Your starting characteristics should look just like a 1 in brawn, 3 agility, 2 intellect, 3 cunning, 2 willpower, and 4 presence.
And that's all your starting experience.
That's every bit of it, which 99% of the time when you're building the character in Genesis, just dump all of your starting experience that you can into characteristics, because they're very hard to change after creation, and anything else that you would spend experience on you can just do later in the game, and it's much easier.
And speaking of starting skills, the aristocrat also gets a free rank in cool, which we have on our sheet.
And as you see, we have a check mark next to the cool for it to be a career, and I'm gonna let my good old friend Nick tell you what career we took and why.
Yeah, so we decided to go with the leader career, found on page 41. Like a big part of Paul's identity is that he is the leader of the Fremen, and so he like uses his charming personality to convince everyone to change their traditions that have been around for 2,000 plus years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
and
ended up with leader as the archetype or the career because of that.
yeah, and that gets us some skills: charm, coercion, cool, discipline, leadership, melee, which you can sub for melee light, negotiation, and perception. The reason why they say you can switch for melee light is it better represents like a noble who like wields a rapier or something like that. More ceremonial weapons than like constantly going out and fighting weapons.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that makes sense.
Yeah,
So we've got
and
our
with that, you also just get to free put one rank in 4 different career skills. So we did discipline, perception, the melee, and leadership, and I tagged both melee
Oh, I
and
see, I see, I
melee
see.
light just in case. Like I don't know if in your group or your
Yeah.
game you're going to distinguish between the two or not.
And the reason why we chose those skills is like Paul in the first chapter like hears a slight noise while he's sleeping, and like it wakes him up to full alertness, and it's this woman that's like looking in on him while he's sleeping. So like he's really perceptive, and then like there's a challenge which I'll let Colby explain because I can never
Mm-hmm.
explain it very well. But it requires a lot of discipline that he
Yeah,
gets through.
and the perception I think is very important because you don't really have any kind of other insight skill like you might with D&D, so generally perception is just for any kind of thing where you're trying to investigate or notice.
Yeah.
And Paul was trained in what the Dune universe, his mother is a Bene Gesserit.
I think in the movie they say Bene Gesserit.
Yeah, it's actually kind of part of the influence for the Force in Star Wars. What they can do, they can use something called the power of the voice. Yeah, they can
Right.
like just say something and with subtle manipulations of their voice, you like instinctually behave, like do what they want. And so
Yep.
being able to tell if someone is lying to him and like notice those small alterations in their voice and body stance is very important for his training.
You want to explain the Gob Jamar?
Yeah, the Gom Jabbar is
That's it.
this. Yeah. Uh, so the woman that was checking on him, speaking with his mother, is the Reverend Mother, the leader of the Bene Gesserit, and she makes him take a test to see if he's worthy of being trained in their ways because they're all women, and it's a big thing that there's now going to be a man. But to prove he's worthy, he basically has to put his hand in this box that she describes as containing pain. And he puts his hand in, and it's the worst pain you could possibly imagine inside the box. And so it's if he's going to let animalistic instinct take over, or if he's going to let his mind rule. And he passes the test. So,
Yeah.
boy, you
And if
need
he
some
takes
good
his hand
discipline for
out, she'll
that.
kill him.
That's cool. That's cool. All right, you guys want to move to the late game?
Yeah, let's do it.
So we decided, like, just to have a number of experience points because the game recommends that you get 10 experience points for every level. We said, okay, we're going to call this 25 sessions. So 250 extra experience points, which will get you to a tier 5 talent and round out some of your skills.
Yeah, so
And
this
we
is
figure like
super
25 is a
late
good long campaign.
You guys have
Yeah.
talents in here? Okay, cool.
Yeah, 25. A lot of games might not make it this long, but if you're in a group that will do a half-year long session meeting every week, then yeah, you could eventually get here.
So, let's tell us about immediate, like right off the bat. Tell us about dedication, because
Yeah. Dedication's like the easiest talent in the whole book to explain because it just says increase one of your characteristics by 1 permanently.
We chose
Yeah.
intellect.
So
Yeah.
why did you guys go with that?
The spice.
On top of allowing space travel, for someone who's trained as a Bene Gesserit, access to the spice, he gets visions, and it like unlocks the memories of all of his previous ancestors that are locked in his DNA, kind of like the Assassin's Creed game, where you have like genetic memory. Kind of why we decided to bump the intellect up to 3 as well. But then mechanically, if you scroll down to magic skills, we gave him 1 rank in Arcana, which is based off intelligence, and that's kind of the magic skill that you would use to do those kinds of things.
Yeah, so like Arcana allows you to look into the future. Like one of the examples is like gazing into a crystal ball to see things that are going to happen.
We felt comfortable backing away from going to a 5 presence, which normally you would want to get up to a 5 because then you just become a demigod in that characteristic. But once we go down and look more specifically at some of our talents, you'll see a lot of the talents make up for the fact that there's not a 5 presence. So I think the best example is if you look at the very bottom, the 3 inspiring rhetoric improved, and then supreme inspiring rhetoric.
Yeah, so you make an average leadership check. You can basically just heal everyone within a short range, 1 strain.
Yeah, so this is the Aragorn final speech before charging Mordor. You know,
exactly.
All of those types of stuff. What about field commander up here?
Yeah, so you can find that one. I think we got a page number on there. Allows you to make another average leadership check. On a success, a number of your allies equal to your presence, which would be 4, immediately suffer 1 strain and can perform 1 maneuver out of turn.
Oh, nice.
So like that would be like your charge command, like they all charge, or like take aim, so they can all get a free aim action.
Yeah. What about, can't we talk about this? What is this?
Yeah, Colby, that's on page 79.
So your character with Can't We Talk About This gets to make an opposed charm or deception versus a target's discipline check. And if the check succeeds, the target cannot attack your character or perform any hostile action against your character until the end of their next turn.
So I'm definitely getting the sense that he goes into like, is this like, does this end up being like a big campaign-esque, like sort of like armies battling sort of thing, like
so once he takes over the Freeman and he defeats House Harkonnen and really finally claims leadership of all of Arrakis, he's the leader of the Fremen and the House Atreides, a whole religion has started around him as the Moad'Dib, and you don't see a lot of the grand combats in the book. They're like kind of mentioned mostly off screen, but something that plays into the later movies is that he sees the fervor for his followers igniting so much that it's gonna lead to a new jihad done in his name, and he realizes there's nothing he can do to stop it. Like the spark has been lit.
Yeah, his legend is too big.
Yeah, he cannot overcome his own legend to stop the jihad that occurs in his name after him.
Okay, yeah, let's go over these skills.
So the biggest thing that we took, like Nick mentioned before, you end up with 3 ranks in leadership. Really helps out that presence, because I think from what I read, a yellow die that a rank upgrades it to is 2.5 times better than a green die. So it does that, and you also need to kind of face the fact that as a presence-based character, you're probably going to be the face of the party.
Yep.
And again, like all the talents we took are based off of the leadership skill. and your presence and like getting other people to do stuff for you.
What's his? So his melee is still pretty good.
Yeah, his melee's 2.
Yeah, with 3 agility, so 2 yellows and a green. So that's not bad, especially because like melee defense is usually static at 2. If you're talking about like force fields, probably 4 or like 2 and 2 black die or something, some BS. So
Yeah,
that's still pretty good.
You could also obviously edit this just depending on, is your game developing more in a narrative driven way or more a lot of combat? If you're doing a lot of combat, you can definitely justify throwing more ranks into the melee and maybe cutting back on the charm and negotiation stuff.
Yeah, we picked up charm and negotiation and another rank in perception.
I was just gonna, again, like, he is a protagonist. He's good at everything.
Yeah.
If we were to make a character true to form, he'd have 5s and 6s across the board. So you're definitely having to pick and choose and just try to make the most Paul that you can Paul.
Yeah. Do you have anything else?
No, that's it as far as the build. I guess now it's just time for the pluggables.
I think we're going to try and do our second episode of teaching Jacob how to play Genesys, how to build dice pools this week, probably Thursday or Friday. We'll try and have that live streamed. The first one should be edited and on YouTube soon, or is, I can't remember.
Yep, it should be, the first one should be on YouTube by the time this is posted.
Going forward with this series, I think we're going to be trying to at least record every other week new protagonists, maybe some new antagonists. If you have any that you want to see build in the Genesys system, you can hit us up on Twitter at RPGsanonymous1 or use the hashtag RBGA and hit us up with some suggestions. We'll give you a shout out in stream if we choose yours.
Yeah, we'll check the comments too. We're going to have our other series teaching Jacob to play Genesys for now on opposite weeks as this, and then we'll have a third series out sometime soon where we start to review game systems. But that's still in the works, so that should be fun. Check out our Discord, link in the description and in the chat if you're in the chat. Check out our Twitter. We're talking in character and answering questions if you guys have that. And check out the podcast at rpgsanonymous.podiant, PODIANT.co.
Yeah.
We'll see y'all in the universe. Multiverse. That's the word.
See you in the multiverse. Deuces.
See you later.